Respected Professor Xavier Professor, distinguished dignitaries who have accepted the dear for the university. Dignitaries joining us online, Professor Obama Rao, Dr. Vijay, etc. And all the dignitaries who are appearing, listening online. And my dear friends and colleagues, good morning to you all. Here, this function marks the inauguration of the 20th Symposium, highest year, one week away, as you know, linguistics is a vast and growing subject, making its presence in almost all the social activities and human performances. Earlier, we know that linguistics was restricted as a study as part of language. Now, the dimensions have changed totally, and this subject has made mark in almost every sphere of human activity. So that marks the significance of this study. And day by day, this study is entering into new areas where we have it made constant center of area. And that makes this a vital study whose presence cannot be set apart from the human faculty of learning. So, it is necessary to get updated on each and every development that is taking place in the sphere of language study. As we know, the past, I'm not going to the details of that, the past studies were mainly focused on traditional grammars, later descriptive grammars, then generative grammars, and it has come up from that to studies based on modern technologies. And in all these areas, we see that there are at least some of the areas which are not covered or studied in depth, which makes it necessary that it should be updated. All the knowledge that is taking place in any part of the world should be brought to all the persons who are interested in these studies. So that makes this symposium more significant. Here we have experts from the field with us to deliberate on various topics related to current trends in linguistics. We have Dr. Ravi Shankar Isnaya, Associate Professor, University of Science and Technology with us to present our linguistics of learning. We have Professor Srinath to talk on the social significance of media linguistics. We have Dr. K. Umaraj, Associate Professor and Head of Department of Linguistics, Madurai Kamaraj University, who is a very good exponent of new philosophical theories in linguistics and the various areas of applied linguistics that has been brought out for current discussion. We have Professor M. Rajashekhan, former head of the department and presently the mentor professor, and he was like the director also of the department there at Dravidian University with us, who will be deliberating on the topic, the usage and coinage of dialects in Tamil and Malayalam in media. And Professor S. A. Shanavas will be talking on current trends in Malayalam linguistics. Professor Kumar Maheshwar Rao will be appearing online. And we know he is an exponent of current trends in computation linguistics, the revolutionary paradigm. And Dr. N. Vijay is going to talk to us on language of deception. So I think this symposium will be made very useful and productive after the 2 days of deliberations and the discussions that are following on that. My duty here is to welcome our distinguished guests to this inaugural function. Initiative to organize such a wonderful session here today. And may I request our prospective guests to kindly come onto the stage and occupy their seats. So please. Please, sir. For quite a long time, on behalf of ISTL and on my personal behalf, I welcome Professor Dravidian, who is going to share the inaugural address of the. We had the chairman of the inaugural session, Professor M. Srinath, Professor Linguistics, Linguistics in Malayalam University. Professor Srinath is one of us, needs no introduction at all. Was part of the Department of Linguistics. And he has stably through various positions in the linguistic field, maybe at the political area also, and the lost experience with us on behalf of ISDL on our personal behalf. I express the question. We have Dr. K1 address. He's the associate professor and head of the department in Modern University. I think he also has it in an introduction because he also has some limitations even in the last meeting he was here. And maybe my friends, very actually involved, totally involved person in the field of linguistics. In very fields of linguistics, presenting purpose and making lectures and insightful talks to the audience regarding the various aspects. I welcome you to this session. And we have for felicitation of this function, we have works the registration awards. It is very important for linguistics. There is join us later, but just very one. But let's say the Sham, who is already in this. But Sham, on behalf of ISDL and for my personal behalf, I welcome you to this time. And as a formality, I welcome you after some good summer. And I think the same thing is welcoming all of the students to this. And that almost attending this one. And the organizers of this one will be doing our I have promised for me series. The same session fellows here, and their cooperation and their involvement in various academic activities. Actually, let me tell you this. And for the last year, I think, even a number of seminars, conferences, and online lectures from distinguished overseas, not from India, but also from Kerala. A good number of serious lectures from renowned speakers, and that was only of and I was just performing or acting according to their instructions. So, they were guiding me, and anyway, when we came last year, before India, different linguistic departments, linguistic trial. Actually, you can see, even though ours is not a linguistic department, we don't have a financial stability at universities have. But even then, certainly a few universities like our Mother Climate University, our programs, almost in every month, we will have 2 or 3 online lectures
more seminars, online seminars, whatever it is. Every month we will be posted to organize serious academic programs. And many people, not from India, but also in Europe, where participants for this online lectures. So actually, we are thankful to the scholars in India and those who have grown for and kind cooperation and extending a helping hand for communication linguistics. So there is very help of knowledge, without their guidance, you are not naturally to be able to engage for linguistics. Now coming to the question, the linguistic is the subject linguistics is developing very fast. And we feel like traditional, those people who are studying linguistics, the traditional way, 40 years back, or 50 years back, those subjects that they were teaching, and everywhere we can see changes. And to go to the present development, actually, we need to have the younger generation, different motivation, and the analysis of the really expressions there. Things are being new, inventions are being and then even the human start the artificial intelligence to the background. And so everywhere you come to application and translation. And so, and even when we speak naturally, normally we were transcribing these speech materials with our hand, very deep, and now it's so naturally these things are occurring, and it can be so many developments are coming in, and which we feel outdated and we were not able to cope. And so automatically, the current trends, what are the trends? Actually, that is to be discussed and it is to be stressed in the revelation. Even the new revelation, they cannot immediately get all these things are actually quite essential. In that respect, actually, you might have seen he organizes new topics on linguistics or application linguistics. Wherever linguistics can be applied in different areas, and those areas that people like you also organizes seminars and over. And that gave me calculation to see that the next year also should come forward, and we should also give up the present-day situation, and we should not leave no way behind any discussion that. And with that already history, we are what people think about, but we have our younger generation here, and when our fathers, brothers, and all these people, and there are so many people are here, and so and with the responsible character and the moral fields. So the younger generation institution, they can cope up with any challenges which we can have. So if they get sufficient exposure the modern developments from the so that is one of the intentions. And second, naturally, since we have access online, the knowledge should not be limited to a particular area, or a particular group of issues. It should be knowledge is the right of everybody. And if some deliberations are going on here, only we can have it only in this one. Now, it can be held anywhere. Even if somebody sitting in South Africa or in United States or Germany or wherever. So, naturally, the deliberations, such deliberations, we have, there should be say not only by us, but also by other people, and they used to be benefited. And that was our motto, and going to church similar promises. We will have with us both offline and online. And many scholars from such attending our seminars and conferences. In I don't want to go into the details. These 2 days symposium, we have invited only very little people since we thought that only we need only serious discussions and some 20 people are invited and making us up almost their market place, so many things that we can do. The activity, academic activity, concentration will be just only invited, only very limited number of experts, so that the speeches can be given and they will get sufficient time and also be as participants that time so in such a way, even 2 days, we 18 and 19 once it posted there, 2 days, we 7 people for 2 days. And it's 1 hour each for 2 of us forward man, like there's no going on. So it was very successful. Here also, we have needed for many few principles, and they are here first. And they know we have continued in order developments in linguistics, in particular areas, and so it will be and time should be it will be very limited how to decide to develop. Always over from here, so is that since that is not about all things, because I have to be present, government restrictions are there. It is very often the government does that, all of the getting, and we can spend it and then we pay them the cost. We can take one from somewhere and then we can organize things, we can publish books, and we can seminars, conferences, and things like this, where teachers can get, and finally when the government grant comes, we spend the cost. But we decided how the research is so no, and we cannot understand such technical strategies. Now, maybe Kerala in other states also will be there. Restriction is there. Only guarantee we should not spend anything anticipating the there we can have maximum if it is essential, and that is only essential. If it is essential, you can issue salary and that too. Essentially, it is more given, even when we have that also better. We have so, and the government guarantees every year. Meaning, only some 10 days or 5 days or 7 days before the year. So, we have got our second half of that only 2 days back before. So, after that period, government has restricted us, we should not spend anything except for another year fellowship. So now what happened is the entire expenditure of our seminar, for conferences, and purchase of books, everything should be within this 2 weeks. So such a restriction is imposed. Actually, we have many problems. How can we select books? If we want to place order for a book, actually, in Trivandrum or places like Berlin or somewhere, we cannot have foreign books or very standard books on the market. We cannot get it. Even if you put it. And the whole thing is so complex. So, the system is not that for it. Because of that, because of this, we can plan every year. And we could invent our but even then, the people who are just at home over immunity for and the one is the one immediately agree. Nobody has said anything. They actually they were obliging me, and that I was just commanding over the one and so we do what we get and I saw we get you should come like that I saw for it actually you were really for that they are coming and I unfortunately for my instances to be here their racial presence is here, and I'm very thankful to people for that, who can say that. So I don't want to go into details. So please, the only thing what is that I think is we have to hear from for their experiences when family, and then get benefit from their and then you continue taking that later because according to their research.
Very important about the and it's a really here that talking to what something will because it's a really important Professor Williams because he is the one who is working to bring the nutrients of the wood linguistics to so you know very well about the so-called syntax that we call that solution that he was taking much interest. The social linguistics also it's just matter for so many new disciplines were brought up in up to neurolinguistics. So that's why in really when complex this is happening is nothing new to it. It's a part of the tradition. So I am happy to congratulate the officials of this institute for conducting such a session. Now, my role here in this session is to chair the session, and the speaker, the main inaugural address is going to be done by Professor Raj. So before that, what's happening in the world of linguistics in India that has to be just kind of, snapshot. Let us go back. Of course, earlier we know a great tradition of the comparative or historical linguistic traditions, and then they come to the structuralism practice, then it goes to generalism, and then of course the social linguistics and other so-called the minority linguistic traditions are coming up. That's called interdisciplinary traditions. Now, it came up called computational linguistics. Now, forensic linguistics, feminist linguistics, eco-linguistics, so many disciplines are coming up and getting practiced in it. Now, when you look early, the people were so much interested in grammar or that kind of comparisons and getting established because the entire school of linguistics continued with the traditional framing technologies and that brought all the disciplines in a particular manner of establishing nationalism and identities. So all of the linguistic tradition also went in that framework. Now, the globalization of the technological revolution and the information explosion now has made a kind of global village kind of concept which has carried on. And now the language barriers they have become, it's easy to be, make it lenient to communicate each other by making great translation up to the level of machine translation, each and every matter of anything which is happening in the whole country is understood by across languages. That kind of hope has been brought out by the machine translation ideas. So now all these kind of revolutions are already happening. The purpose linguistics is one happening. And the translation process, the translator means automatically the language of the linguistics earlier we saw, now it has become a kind of digital science and all of it is humanity. So when we became a part of the digital humanity, the responsibility has been further and further increased, not only the part of the linguists, but even the part of the whole digital humanity. And in that way, A part of endangerment discourse is very active as from 2000s onwards. We are seeing, and in India, this is very active discussion is going on. The language endangerment program, as well as the corpus making, the reports making, so many kinds of ideas which is coming up. So, within the range of IT, that's not important. So, how the technology has improved the activities of linguistics is very important. So automatically now each and everybody in the younger generation, if you see earlier, getting students for linguistics is a problem. But nowadays it's not that. By choice, by selection, people are coming forward to all the linguistics, especially the room. You can see 40 students, CUK, all of them start at the central universities, you are seeing 40 plus students. And all of the youngsters, they are coming up with all kinds of new innovative ideas to practice in linguistics. So, because the linguistics are very easily diffused to the technology and science as well as the humanities. So, with all these kind of hybridity or hybrid cultures that has been common in linguistics, that has made the younger generation as well as the discipline. And this discipline is also a what is that because of age? If the age are coming up working in linguistics, whether the linguists are going to be replaced with the age or this is a kind of confusion or a kind of question or discussions are going on. Anyway, linguists have their own capital role to play in even in alienation or in the robotic or in the whole cybernetics. So this particular discipline will survive for a longer period again, and the youngsters will lead, and these youngsters definitely is not going to protect the and technological oriented linguistics is going to come up, and that is going to be a prime into for linguistics all over the world. And in India, particularly because of such of variety or diversity, we have enough to do as even to the very basic preliminary documentation to the dissemination process. It's a long way to go. So we need we need a linguistic sensibility to be brought into the school education part. And that means the linguistics cannot be a science of scholarly production industry. These are seen earlier in the Europe. But no, linking authority is a social science. It's a model of humanity. So it has to be not down up to the level of schools because otherwise, in coming generations, each and every practice when they started doing that linguistics started, everything is formal. Without having a linguistic understanding, they cannot because as you know that when they look at when they collect everything from the grammar, from the movement, there is a process of linguistics involved in that. So everything whatever they practice for body and the technology behind this technology is the use of that thing. There is a kind of linguist role is also important. That's usually this technical world order or technology centered world order will always demand more and more advanced research in electrical linguistics as well as the applied linguistics area. And that is why all these disciplines, whether it is cyber linguistics or internet linguistics or computer linguistics or forensic linguistics or eco-linguistics or any form of these linguistics, everything has a social dimension and everything has a social use. No one gets morally products to industry, rather it is part of the humanity. That's why it is considered as a very essential part of the humanity. So by empowering the digital humanity of Asia, all in India, we have to do a wonderful research programs, we have to plan and implement in case of or in the arena of linguistics. That's why the current sense of the discussion which has been brought by ISDN here is has immense importance to attract youngsters because this is all put there. The linguistics is a science of youngsters and it is the science of engineering, social engineering. So this social engineering process, which is global linguistics, sociology, even from the 60s, we have brought sociology into the discipline, psychology into the discipline, and now literature into the discipline. So literary linguistics, education into the educational linguistics, so many linguistics steps or practices have been already implemented throughout the world. And India is also very well taking up these things because when you look at these younger students, dissertations, they are in chemistry linguistics, they are in eco-linguistics, they are in clinical linguistics, and it's finance. So the relevance of linguistics today are the current trends and current importance and current significance for the entire and empowering the society or empowering the linguistics is the one and all. So actually, linguistics have to be given special preference in education, not this can still remind, because that is the government of India took very as well as the kind of linguistic course has been brought down even to the school level. So in coming generations, I hope even from the very school level, linguistics will get introduced and this will take a kind of technologically savvy generation and they will always go in terms of understanding the very, very deep areas of our mind, how the mind is working. So one part of the history, and the other part at the very, very practice of the mind. So between these two levels, that is the practical as well as the theoretical levels, linguistics is going to take up very good influence in that generations in community needs. So with all these four, I really appreciate the authorities of this institution for conducting this seminar. And now, let me invite Dr. N. Rajasekhar Nair sir for his inaugural address. Please. Most respected Director of ESPN, Professor Patel sir, distinguished Chairman from Srinagar, Professor from Punjab University, Dr. Umar Raj, President Department of Linguistics, and my dear colleagues. Really is a wonderful topic that is a 2 day symposium on current trends in languages. For the last many years, we have been talking about what is going on the study of linguistics throughout the world. And also we talk about the current trends. When we say current trends means which year are much detailed. And we know that many countries are having their own specialists. Even in India, we have different departments or many departments in linguistics. They have been specializing in different topics or different subjects. So that way, we cannot have a concrete thing like current trends. This current trends means the modern trends. Each department they are having orders. So it is made. I appreciate the ISDL to come up with such a vast subject for discussion. I have experience with some of the universities here in South, where I find there is a trend that the other discipline students or research scholars are distanced themselves from central linguistics department. This is there all over India. When I was doing my MA at Ranagala University, the Tamil department, the building was very close to my department, Professor Pandit. Will be knowing it. Nobody will come to the linguistics department for any seminar, any symposium, any conference, or any talk. That way, there was a kind of enmity. But now the trend has been changed. Trend is changed. They like us. Now the people are the disciplines. They feel that the knowledge of linguistics is needed. So I can cite one or two examples. Recently, maybe about 2 months ago, I was invited to handle classes on basic syntax basic Tamil syntax to the International Tamil Studies Chennai. So I was there for 2 days. Professor Karnar and some was also there. So really it was wonderful. 2 days means it was wonderful thing. Which I never expected that they have conducted for 21 days in the government finance or something like that. The enthusiasm to learn basic linguistics was really great. And who are the participants? The participants are from middle school. Middle school Tamil teachers. That's more important. 50 they have chosen, 50 participants from lower middle school. And out of this 50, 46 were women. Over the 21 days they sat through. And the concluding day I was there, and they came and gave their feedback. Many came and actually they volunteered for the feedback. And we were telling that we have been teaching Tamil language to these students of middle school for many years, 10 years, 15 years, like that. But after attending these 21 days of this course here, we came to know so many things which we have not learned earlier. So they are showing their appreciation like anything. And they immediately said, next year please conduct such a course and invite all of us. So this impressed me because they are only middle class school teachers. Middle class means they only teach about ABCD of Tamil. That's all. That's enough for them. But after undergoing such a course there at International Institute of Tamil Studies, Chennai, these participants they showed an inclination to learn more and more things about linguistics. Classes were in Tamil because they had no only Tamil language. The classes were held in Tamil language, and the subject experts are brought from many places, and they came down to their level, and the classes went on well. So I was really happy to see that such a course was conducted in IIT Chennai, which attracted the Tamil teachers. That shows that they are not, they don't have an aversion towards linguistics. If it is taught in such a way that it will be useful for the teachers of the Tamil teachers, very useful. Similarly, I was wondering recently, maybe about a month ago, the Bharatiya University where I am now working as a mentored professor, I attended 4 courses conducted by them. 4 courses in the sense that one was on computational linguistics. One course for 3 days. 3 days. Then they have invited 2 computer experts, not linguists, computer experts to the department. That was those who were giving a course for the linguistic students. One language Parka, which is actually essential for our students. Students success quality and also faculty members. So that went on well. The second one they have conducted on tribal linguistics. Tribal linguistics that was also for 3 days, and all the 4 I was participating, I was giving lectures. The second one, tribal linguistics. Many research scholars with the more enthusiasm attended. Because we have this number of students, maybe some 20. But in the hall, I found that there are about 40, 45 students. 45. And I asked the organization how it is happening. Then they said, you see, when we have given our circular earlier, something regarding the tribal linguistics. Many students of departments like sociology, psychology, covered from RDA road. They actually just wanted to send their students to learn tribal linguistics, sociology things, psychology matters. So, and also They were participants from outside. Outside parliament from maybe from other universities, other colleges, and they have come there, they attended, and also faculty members. Okay. The third one, was again about 3 days, or it was on forensic claims. You know, Dr. Vijay, who is the member of Vijay, he's from the video, and the Jamar also is going to have a talk. He was organizing that. These are also selling hackers. Many participants, instead, they come from different walks of life. Like, they attended the course. We thought that forensic universities mainly concerned for the linguistics are students of linguistics background, but it is not so. It's proved that many participants came from even medical colleges, medical faculty. They have attended that because we are the only persons who can explain many things with language aspects, the conversation aspects, the linguistic this is probably when the Polish people may not be able to conclude. So they have made an impact on that. The last one was conducted probably 50 days ago. That was on Dravidian semantics. So nowadays we used to learn about the Dravidian phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, pragmatics, etc. But this is solely for Dravidian semantics. Semantics. Here also, this is the same thing. These 20 participants plus another 25 participants from other side. I think Dr. Sham also attended once. So, all the feedback shows that they like English. That's the trend. Now, my opinion, that is also the trend. Now, the people from other disciplines or related disciplines, they were hating linguistics once long ago. Now they have come closer. They said that by attending such courses, such training, we are getting so many things. And also they appreciate the teachers, the resource persons. The resource persons don't have. They have been delivering a lecture to the linguists as well as others. Accordingly, they change their mind in the sense of they simplify things and they tell the subject to the participant coming from different groups. So my suggestion is that such kind of a thing in simple language, if we do or conduct, it can attract others. This is number one point. Second is nowadays the people of linguistics or the students of linguistics department, they maybe at the maximum we have 20 students in this department all over India. Maybe 10, 12, 13, 15 like that. Why not increase it? Then they are asking us, we don't have leaders, we don't have BA linguistics. We have either a BSc chemistry, BSc physics, BA economics, BA history, BA sociology. Only those students are coming to us. But we don't have leader position. And this also, which is not examined through. When I was examining this out, in many colleges of universities in India now are conducting BA courses. Banaras University is there, Lucknow University is there, Aligarh Muslim University is there, Dravidian University is also there. Many universities are conducting BA university. Some places it is in Hindi, some places BA university in India. But anyway, they are given a degree BA linguistics. So after getting the BA degree, they can come for a linguistics. BA linguistics, they can directly come for a linguistics. So that way, we have to encourage students, we have to encourage administrators to start through our forum studies or other academic forum. We have to make them believe that BA linguistics is an essential thing now. Like that, we can also insist so that the students will go for BA linguistics automatically, then they will go for PhD linguistics, etc. And our current trends in linguistics Well, English, definitely yes. And again, one more point I want to say here. We have many universities for languages like Telugu University, Tamil University, Malayalam University, Kannada University, Dravidian University. But why not we have a university of linguistics? Maybe it is a protocol. Maybe, but in reality, there is one in Russia. In Russia, we have the Kremlin town. Like I said, state university, something like Moscow State University of Linguistics. Moscow State University of Linguistics. It's a very good name. They have achieved a very good name. They have a BA Linguistics and MA Linguistics, PhD, BA Sociology, BA Psychology, many courses. Which is now an international university. University of Linguistics. I think all of you may agree because we have a language university. Similar to that, why not we have a linguistics university? So the trend is that we have to attract others. The trend is we know linguistics or we know parts of linguistics. That is a good discipline. Anybody will say it's a good discipline. That's fine. But that is not the end of the show. You have to see that others should believe that they are getting something from it. So you have to create. So these are some of the examples which where I was involved. That's what I come to know. So the Chennai example is really great. I was really wondering, astonishing. One of these middle school Tamil teachers, they came to the mic and say that next year please conduct similar course, invite us. We learned many things which we have not seen in our BA Tamil. Where are the BA? So that means we are able to impress them. We have stuff, we have people. But I think scholars like Professor Pankaj with the help of ESDL can become starting their linguistics university. Thank you. I'm very happy to elaborate the activities of Thank you. Thank you, sir, for a nice inaugural address. Now let me invite you for the presentation. Professor Shanavas, please. The undergraduate program in linguistics program. And today tomorrow we have different linguistics. So instead of the everyday program linguistics, The department now has to have next year onwards program for undergraduate. And the college teachers are there. And the roll number, they are also there. And also there are but this is very strong. It is a plan supporting or giving everything that has been worked on the better, how that convenience or something like that. But music is really standard as the main subject. And we have a developed, created or become goal of who year, 8 goal. Preferably or the based on a task they have given. First year, that is 100 to 199, that is easy course. Second year, 200 to 299, this medium level. Third year, little more difficult. And fourth year, it will be a result oriented course. After that 4 year, they can go for research or something like that. Is radiology, radiology, anthropology, and they are going for that. Already 2, 3 courses, university standard. Or the not like that. The matter of Sham and the teachers have to teach in undergraduate level, learning postgraduate level, that is what happening. So after 3 years, they will get a BA pass degree in linguistics after. And then after 4 years, they will get a degree, master, sorry, honors degree in linguistics. And we have to do a lot of areas and complete application of English. And we are looking for different areas or interdisciplinary courses related with English and communication, conversational education, and international and forensic linguistics, language and media, it's good like that. Whatever be the possible combinations we can accommodate language. So that the students will be attracted as I was telling. And they have to get appointment or a placement based on their skill. And moreover, what was they don't students who got admission in other disciplines can change from never basically for example, they will take whatever subject they want to take then they can shift it to linguistics. Even they are completely students or psychology or managing students or very several themselves for anything. If some university or some institution is some particular investment courses, which is interesting for the student, it will definitely discover that for knowledge of course within the institution so that they get experience in that thing. That is the one for which it will go further and even they do after they take advantage of maturity for them. That sort of things are happening. So this is the right time to have the very important topic to be discussed. But we are thinking in our students here. But the topic is very important. But here, whatever we can publish articles or something like that based on the so that they reach to icon problem and the very institution for the connecting the problem and integrating the problem of let's say one value and then listening and all these things. So I'm not going to be more about what the work idea. I need to run about the process with the argument or the technical. And I have a little bit of an I can compare the examples and I know some other media and I wish the linguistics will have a good teacher and what is remember about them. We will have a good teacher. Camera, if the control the most of the relation is what. And I also want to working on legal mindset, where language attitude is being studied. Looking linguistic, I mean, that around us and see how the attitude of people, the dog, all these things are being and we are on the other also nature of the page, how to create this professor for character. There is a wonderful study, and then if you want to just a question, this is how to really live. Because our system is level 4 so we have and then we invite Dr. Umar is thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And let's look at process and this chat is Instagram as in there and some of us actually myself and Nagit there was joined as of that way. They are sitting, they said actually we are waiting for 3 years. Nobody was there because so in some industries they recruit people, but they don't have that the register. So we have to bridge those people. We applied and we got them. So they are waiting for 2 years, 2 to 3 years. So when we started, they are asking, this is a simple work. We have to segment the speech stones, that's all. Remaining they will do. The provided they given to ability, but therefore we don't have the language. So this is the company research not the provider. So we want to provide expenses to the research. So it is very simple works only, but people are not making rules, putting rules, so the problem is that in number of they have to navigate this interactor was there. So if you want to complete a project, it's better than 30 years attached to speech synthesis of so that the continuity is not there in our school or in our departments. That is a major problem. So ISDL will do those things, coordinate all university people, and then they are the main coordinators for learning languages. Then we will do all sort of things. I worked for that in central staff class system also. I worked for that in Tamil Virtual Academy also. So, lot of experience I have. In Tamil Virtual Academy, we digitalized 1 lakh books under the guidance of the Dixon was there. So, ours is the director. In CAL, that time, K. Ramaswamy was the director for the Central Staff Class Group. So he gave 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs for the program. That time only people joined, they did a lot of research on class group. Now they stop now. That is the problem. So the continuity was not there. If it is there, it will be wonderful. Lot of opportunities are there. My talk on the afternoon was on machine learning things on significant analysis. I developed a tool for movie reviews. So I will present that. Thank you very much for giving sir. Thank you.
Okay, sound. See, first of all, I'd like to explain that is a tool. So the people have opportunity to deliver a verification after which is the previous program. So that is how much I think we do it every year. Then finally, actually, I would like to tell you only start on the soul in the for protecting stable control academic activity. On this occasion, I would like to recall my observation of the past 2 years, that is 2023 and 2022 and 2020. A number of academic activities we have conducted. They are very dynamic and very vibrant and very oriented applications. And also, I would like to congratulate all the participants. And I wish this program a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And now this is the annual session and for that, another some of these.
Various speakers are selected for the seminar. When an experience has selected this topic at the time of the database financially raised because of the actually the importance of these topics. Yeah, now we are now the time is going so I am not going for a long amount of tax. But all the speakers are very, very related to ISTL. First of all, I thank our chairman, delivering the chairman's address, key English address, and the various modern areas of linguistics, which is means understood and the importance to studying the detail. I am on behalf of ISTL, thank you, sir. Is regarding address yes, very clear the importance of unawareness of scientific, the lack of scientific study and unawareness of linguistic knowledge even to the teachers, current teachers. The purposes that need to teach them scientifically on the ISD and in efforts of future times. Future programs that department is going to undertake. It is very good, but in doing so, we will incorporate the modern skills which are also similar as already in an enterprise here. So, we will see I have also organized to facilitate the conference. Is very cooperative with the ISD and participating in our character seminars and programs. On behalf of ISD and the thanks for presentation with Yes, I have not seen the listener actually is the first person to present the name here. I mean, you all come from ISD and sincerely thanks in his efforts of thanks. And also thanks for the sir for doing the better purpose. I also thank all college and participating in service.
Now, perform the body of the side, or maybe the environment of the student side. Professor, esteemed colleague, and both offline and online participants. It is with great pleasure and honor that on behalf of ISTL, I welcome Dr. Ravisankar S. Nayak, a luminary in the field of linguistics, to our stage. We have illustrious career dedicated to our in the implications of language. Professor Nayak has provided our specialized in a topic of profound linguistics, the linguistics of language. Please let me allow to say a few lines about it. Formally, we were of science and technology, and Central University of Kerala. Currently, he is a language consultant in he is also for his study for a university. He also Malayalam and descriptive origin of some Harvard books of Sanskrit language in India, tribal languages of Kerala, a grammar of Malayalam, etc. Now, without any further delay, let me warmly welcome Professor Ravisankar is now in the podium.
Hi. Very good morning to all of you. Um, so I'll be speaking about a particular area of forensic linguistics, which is called the forensic statement analysis. Within that, uh, lying and the language or linguistic markers of lying. The importance of this area is that now there are many practitioners of forensic linguistics, uh, especially in Western world. Not a very well-developed area in India. There's a reason for this. Uh, it's because our legal systems are very different. You would have seen in many films, there's, when a person is arrested in USA, especially, the police officer reads out a statement, which is called a Miranda warning. It says that you have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say can be used against you. You have the right to approach for legal aid, and such certain clauses are read out to him. You see that in films. In India, we don't do that because our legal system is very different. The reason is that in USA, you kill someone or commit a crime, and you go to a police officer and make a confession. That confession is recorded and it is produced in the court. It is uh, accepted as an admission of your guilt. You have admitted to the crime. In India, this is not possible. You go to a police station and confess your crime. No, this happens very often. People kill someone and go and surrender to the police without anyone's intervention. But the legal problem, is that the police still have to fetch evidence for the crime. Police has to go to the court and argue before the judge, produce evidence for the crime. Your confession is not evidence. The only use of such a confession is that you confess that you have killed someone and you say that the instrument of the crime, a knife or a gun, is hidden somewhere. The police makes a recovery. This will be accepted. But otherwise, the police has to produce evidence for your motivation, produce evidence for the fact that you were at the scene of the crime. So it's just like it. This is why the legal systems are very different. And now imagine someone is making a confession. The police tortures a confession out of him. The police use a third way, like Malayalam people, Moonam, like they beat him to confess. So that confession, such confessions, forensic linguists actually
they can find loopholes in that confession and say that this is not a voluntary confession, but something which the police extorted out of him. So this is why the legal systems are very different, and why forensic linguistics thrives in the North. Because police investigation, police interrogation, all this comes to the court and are being questioned. This is why when people are lying to a police officer, or when the police themselves are lying in a court of justice, it becomes very important in forensic linguistics. So, forensic statement analysis is actually, looking at a person's spoken testimony or written testimony. It can be written also, a text, like a statement or a testimony given to a court or the police. And you analyze it to find evidence for lying, deception, or withholding information. These are the three areas involved in forensic statement analysis. So, it's a very important area like this. So you are lying to the police. So researchers show that all of us lie on an everyday basis. It says that people say 4 to 5 lies every day, but not something of serious significance. Normally, the lies that we say is that someone asked me, or I ask you, how is this shirt? And you would say, oh, it looks good on you. And when you actually think, oh, it's horrible. Or at the end of my presentation, you are forced to say, oh, it was a wonderful presentation, even though you were bored to death with the whole presentation. So such sort of lies, we don't think that it's something, very significant in our lives. But a lie made before a police officer or before the court of law becomes a very significant thing. So in forensic statement analysis, we try to find out linguistic cues of lying. If a person is lying, we know that there are certain, everybody knows, or people who look around or interact with other people always say that he's lying. I can tell it from his face. So you're hiding something. We don't know exactly how we do it, but we know that. But in forensic statement analysis, we are trying to find out very specific cues to lying. This is different from what we call as body language, because this can be done to a text also. You have a written statement where people lie, then also you can find out that the person is lying. But body language is you have to see the person. So the police personnel usually focus on body language, and the forensic linguist focuses on the text or words. You don't have to see the person. And secondly, you are not concerned about what actually happened. The police are very much concerned about that. The important principle in forensic statement analysis is that people's words will betray them. I'll explain this in more detail later. It says that you can't hide your crime. Just like the police says that somewhere you leave an evidence for your crime. When you speak or write about something, you're lying, it will betray you. We'll see how this is so. So we'll come to a famous statement by President Bill Clinton when he was impeached. And he said, I swore on oath to tell the truth. I believed I was bound to be truthful, and I tried to be. He says, I tried to be, which actually means that he was not truthful. I just tried to be. This is something which comes out of you quite naturally. When you speak, when you're trying to hide something or lie, it expresses itself in some other part through an indirect way. This is called leakage in forensic linguistics. A leakage is an involuntary admission of your guilt or an involuntary statement of the truth. So I have one video. I wouldn't go into videos now. It will take a lot of time. Because interesting part of this discussing forensic linguistics actually the videos, but normally it takes a lot of time. And actually last year also I have shown some videos. So there is a video where the famous Sarita uh, of the whom we all of us know. Now, she was asked in a TV interview when she leveled sexual allegations against a former chief minister. She was asked, so you are making allegations against a chief minister, somebody who has been around in our political scenario for about 50 years. So do you stick by your statement? So she says, ഞാൻ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞതിൽ ഉറച്ചു നിൽക്കുന്നു. കാരണം ഞാൻ സത്യമാണ് പറഞ്ഞത്. സത്യം പറയുമ്പോൾ കള്ളം പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ 100 തവണ ആലോചിക്കണം. ഞാനും 100 തവണ ആലോചിച്ചു. This is what she said. Now I have this video here. So it's a very interesting statement. So indirectly she says that what I am saying is a lie. This is called a leakage in forensic linguistics. There are a number of videos like that. This is something like that. Bill Clinton says, I swore on oaths. I was on oath, means I swore that I would say only truth. And I tried to be truthful. So this is actually true. He means that he only tried to be true and he wasn't true. So he was lying or hiding information. So linguistic statement analysis can look at different aspects of a person's speech, like you can look at phonetic aspects of somebody's speech, voice modulation, changes in pitch. There are also be nonverbal cues like stuttering. Where exactly you stutter? There can be changes in lexical choice, grammatical aspects. For example, when a person speaks, change in tense. A person says something in the past tense. Suddenly, it changes to present tense or some other tense, depending on the language. Without any reason, there is a possibility that the person is lying. For example, a person is making out or making up a story, like he stole some money or he was asked to go to the bank and deposit some money. The person steals the money and says that when I went to the bank or near the bank, somebody pointed a gun at me and just snatched away the money. Now you look at, there are many examples like this when that person actually says this. Now, if you listen to the recording, a person says, so I took the money, I drove to the bank, and when I got out in the park near the bank, so everything is in the past tense. Suddenly, a person jumps near me. He shows me a gun or points a gun at me. He doesn't say he pointed a gun at me. So before that, he speaks in the past tense. Suddenly, there is a shift in the tense. This shows that the person is lying. This is related to the psychology of your speech. We'll see why it is. Grammatical aspects, discourse structure. See, when you speak, there are certain discourse aspects which normally a normal person wouldn't be aware of. Look at the example, something which happens very often. Now, you set fire to your industry or to your shop and claim insurance. It's a very common crime all over the world. And the police is asking you to describe the fire. The discourse structure will be very different from what a person, from the description of a person who has actually seen a fire. Now, if I see a fire, like when I am coming over here, I see a fire. when I describe it, I will say that I was walking along this road, I saw smoke and I saw people running towards that spot. When I went there, a lot of people were there. So I described what I saw before the fire, then I described the fire. Finally, after what happens after the fire is doused. So these three aspects of my description, the most will be focused. It will be focused on the middle part of the fire. I will describe what happened during the fire. But if you set fire to your shop and you're describing, the discourse structure actually changes. You will describe, your description will focus more on the first part and more on the latter part. Because once you set fire, you are not in the psychological mode of a person who just witnesses a fire. You have set fire, and then your uh, main idea would be to hide the fact that you have set. So you don't observe the fire then. Today, I had a experience about this when in a college, in a seminar. I described this thing, and one of the teachers who attended the seminar, she suddenly had a realization. She said there was a fire in her house a few years back, and the fire happened in a room where one of her relatives who came to visit her was staying. The fire started from there. When I described this change in discourse structure, this teacher suddenly remembered that this particular lady who was staying in this room shouted. She was the first to see the fire. So what she shouted was, "Tea katti, tea katti." She didn't say tea or tea. Normally, if you have witnessed fire, you would say tea, tea, or divide or something like that. This particular lady said tea katti, which of course suggests that she herself set fire to that room. So, like this, the discourse structure will change. There are pragmatic aspects. I'll come to this. Now, uh, the difference between a police interrogation into a crime. So the police are also, you know, interrogate a person, talk to that person, gets his testimony. And a linguistic statement or a forensic linguist analysis are very different. So the police will look at what is called consistency and contradiction. This is very important in the police. So they try to verify what is called the ground truths. Let's say that there has been a crime and a particular person is suspected of having done that crime, maybe a murder. So the first priority for the police is to establish that the person was actually present at the site of the crime. So this is the first thing for any police investigation anywhere in the world. So they ask a person, so on Friday evening, 7 o'clock, what were you doing? So the person says, I was having dinner with my wife. Now he's in the police station. They continue to interrogate him, but the police will send out another policeman to go and talk to his wife. So they go to his wife's house and ask the wife, so where were your husband at the evening? So he says, his friend came and they went out. When did he return? So he returned early morning, 4 o'clock. Now the police are quite sure that there's a high chance that he was at the scene of the crime. So this is establishing the ground truths. So the second is consistency and contradiction. When you say the same story again and again, are you saying the same thing? Contradiction, two things you say. For example, the time frame or the motive, whether they contradict. For a forensic linguist, the ground truth is not important. But consistency and contradiction, are important in a different way. Um, So this is the difference between what a policeman is trying to find out and what a forensic linguist can tell you. Okay, you can look at response length, talking time, length of interaction, details, sensory information, cognitive complexity, unique words. So whether a person is blocking access to information, the response latency, rate of speaking, different things you can look at to see if a person is lying. What are the cues to lie? So important that there is a from 1970s there has been a lot of research on lying and on deception. So what makes a person? What is what you actually do when you deceive or when you try to deceive someone? How your language will change. So the research into lying, linguistics of lying, involves many of these aspects. Unfortunately for us, there's most of it comes from the research that has been done in English and other languages. In India, very difficult to or almost impossible to get the data from a police interrogation video. Uh, like you go to, where Trichure, there is a forensic institute under the police where they have lot of data, but even for a case which the final verdict has come from the Supreme Court and the case has been closed forever, they will not give you the data because they're afraid, somebody will interpret, there has been some error in this case, and this is why the verdict has come out like this. So very, very difficult. Otherwise, it's very interesting. So usually I use videos in English often, what I get from um, the TV about from news incidents and all that. But anyway, a very, very interesting thing. So what has the basis of the research here from 1970s that first the investigators tried to uh, you know record statements which are obviously true, a person saying very truthful things like narrating an incident or something. Then they look for deviations from this. For example, like the mean number of sentences a person uses in discourse. For different languages, this is very different. The number of words in a sentence, average number of words. Is there a significant difference? Either it becomes very less or increases more. Are you trying to lie? Is the person trying to lie in that particular place? This is what they try to find out. And they could come out with a lot of information uh, about the linguistics of lying uh, by looking at deviations from the noun. So importantly, you're not looking at one linguistic marker. One important thing that I would like to say before we proceed further, all this is not evidence. So like the example I have given of Sarita, we are quite sure that she is lying. But according to our law, this cannot be accepted as evidence. So forensic linguists actually try to help an investigator, a person conducting a questioning, like if you go to Trichu, in the forensic uh, police institute for forensic studies, there is a room where a suspect can be questioned, and there are other people sitting in another room. They can see and hear the suspect, but they cannot see the others sitting around them. So they can observe and hear the say. So everywhere, forensic statement experts or forensic linguists actually help the person, police officer, by saying that, when you listen to a person being questioned, that he's hiding information or trying to lie or misleading an investigator. That's a particular part. So you can ask a further question here, or you should uh, recheck this fact. So like this, many hints can be given. This never amounts to evidence like a fingerprint. Uh, Actually, sometimes, there is a usage called forensic fingerprinting or linguistic fingerprinting. It's not something very sure as for linguistic, like ordinary fingerprint. It just shows certain possibilities, strong possibilities, which ultimately has to be verified by the police and has to be matched against the ground truth. This is how it works. So the important thing is all the markers that we are trying to say, like trying to discuss, like the linguistic leakage, all these have to be there have to be many markers, and each will be different for each person. So the first thing that we look at is the length of a message. So one important principle, a lie is usually longer than a truthful statement. So studies on emails shows that there are 28% more words in a untruthful message than a truthful message. The reason for this is that there are different reasons. One important reason is that, see, the psychology of lying. Lying is not a very simple thing. Of course, the examples that I gave you, the lies that we say in our everyday life, like, about somebody's shirt or about my speech, these are simple lies. But when you are lying to the police or you're lying about a very serious thing, it takes a psychological effort to lie. It's not that, you can all of a sudden produce a lie and just act normal. First of all, it produces emotions of fear and anxiety in you, which you have to hide. This will always reflect on your face when you say a lie. You have to hide this. This takes an effort. This is why, leakage occurs, because you are trying to suppress certain other things. The truth gets expressed in what you say. Secondly, you have to make it sound believable. So when you lie, your tone will change. Your facial expressions will change. You have to try to make it very believable. You have to have a normal face. You have to control the tone of your voice. So all this, you have to keep it under control. You're trying to persuade a person to believe what you say. This is why it will never be an ordinary statement of the fact, but there will be more words always, or mostly. There are instances when a lie can have lesser number of words, but generally there will be more words. And the type of words that always accompanies a lie will be empty words, words that could be avoided, which doesn't have any factual basis. There are such words, like called edges in linguistics. So such words are there. So when you can find out the average length of a person's speech or sentence, when that person makes a strong deviation in certain parts of his statement, it's a pointer that that particular place that person is lying. So you will have too much unnecessary information when you lie. I don't know whether you were here. I have shown you last time in the forensic linguistics seminar a video of a minister's wife speaking, and the minister speaking about the same incident. So there was a allegation that people somebody went into his house and beat him up. So the wife says a story, he says a contradictory story. So how the two stories are very different. Now the wife directly comes to the point. The husband says a lot of things, like people are trying to malign me, slander my name, and a lot of things. Because when you actually come to the fact, it's difficult. That it's very clear that you don't want this. So there is too much unnecessary information. We are not, the journalists in front of him, they are not interested in all these things. They are interested only in one thing. Did someone enter his house and beat him up? This is the question that is being finished. So a liar will never answer this directly. He will come with a lot of other information. So this is a pointer that the person is lying. Uh, so mean length of utterance is the total number of words divided by total number of sentences. So the words will increase uh, when you are lying. There are more words and more unnecessary words. So what is an unnecessary word also? We'll see. So this is something which you can actually use in trying to find out whether. So the liars will produce more words during deceptive conversations than during truthful conversations. So the difference is quite marked. There's a principle in, when you observe the body language of suspects, the police use. Because the police always believes that, when somebody is being questioned, you're trying to scratch your nose or, wipe your face. This is a psychological indication that you want to hide the truth from coming out. But at the same, so you do something like this or touch your mustache or wipe your face. But this could be mannerisms also. So the difference is that a person who doesn't do that before questioning suddenly begins to do this. So that is an indication body language. Same with lying also. The number of words increase when you begin to lie. Before that, you look at the statements. The mean length of utterance is different. So these are the things that forensic linguists can look at. So studies show, this is for English, of course, we don't have data for Malayalam. Speak in sentences between 10 and 15 words. I think for Malayalam or Dravidian language in general, there should be less number of words, should be, because you have a lot of morphological structures attached to one word, and the number of words generally. This is something we always discuss in research methodology. Because PhD thesis in the West, universities always suggest the ideal length is around 1 lakh words. But we cannot have 1 lakh words in literature or something. It will be more like 40,000 or 50,000 because the nature of language is like that. So when there is the mean length of utterance, there's a significant difference in mean length of utterance. Then that shows that the person is lying or hiding information. Also, the other possibility that it can be lesser number of sentences also. You have a lesser number of words. When you are being questioned, you say a lie and you don't want to be detected. So you quickly jump over that and try to move on to the next. So you just say a few words quickly. So here the mean length of different utterance shows a different direction. So both are possible. You repeat the same point. So this is something which is very familiar to all the policemen. So you don't want to come to the truth. Also, when you are being asked a question, like something which you would have seen, sometimes you get emails which are fraudulent. The first indication of the fraudulent email is that it will have a long mailing list. It will have many 100 or 200 addresses one after the other. So if you see such a mail, don't open it. This is the indicator. It's because you don't write the same thing again and again, write a new address, but it's the same thing. It's the same psychology. The actual thing that you want to say, when you come to that point, if you're lying, it can produce tremendous tension and anxiety in you. So you don't want to say that. So a typical feature which you expect from liars, so that liars never say. For example, you ask a person, did you do this? You always see this in television every day. Politicians are asked, did you do this? Last time I think I showed a video of a film actor being asked whether there was a Me Too allegation. So it says that when he stayed in a hotel long back, 15 years or 18 years back in Madras, he called a girl in another room and said something which was not nice. So when he was asked that question, his answer is not that I didn't do that, but he's asking, why should I do it? This is a typical liar's strategy. He said, why should I do it? Because you can't say I didn't do it because you know that you did it. This is why you cannot make such a statement. They always say. So this is the same thing. So when you just say that I didn't do it, your mind tells you that it's not true, and it's just one sentence or one word. You try to make it sound convincing by adding many more things. So this is irrelevant information. Again, one of the videos which I showed last time was a politician who went to a girl's house somewhere, and his opponents, he went at night, and they surrounded the house and called the police and all that. So the next day there was a press conference, and this person is being asked, "Why did you go there?" So he could just say this in one sentence or two sentences. So he actually says, I started from Trivandrum on such and such day. I went to a temple because it was my birthday. And I went to another temple. So after all the temple, he comes to here. Answer is just thing. I thought that I would see her to discuss something. This is the answer. But to make it convincing. And also there is a underlying psychology working here. He says that I went to a temple, it's my birthday. Means, I'm a very spiritually inclined person. I wouldn't do such a thing because I'm coming from the temple. This he doesn't say. This is what he's trying to imply. So all this adds unnecessary words and unnecessary information to your message. Repeating statements may also be their attempt to emphasize the validity of what they are saying. So there's something which is not very convincing. They want to make it convincing. They keep on repeating it. Verbal tics or unexpected stuttering, something which policemen know very well. So where you stutter, where you stammer is very important. It's not that, when somebody is being questioned, you stammer all along. You stammer when you actually come to the part where you are lying. If you remember one video which I showed last time, a priest was being asked about an incident of that or an allegation that he raped a nun 13 times. So the interviewer from a TV is asking him, he repeatedly asked, Kanyasriye Pidipichu. So whenever this Pidipichu, the word comes, now his fingers twitch like this. He is listening to the question, but you can see his fingers. It always twitch. So language is also like that. Where exactly you feel the anxiety, there you stutter, or there you lose words and there's a silence. So where this speechlessness. So actually, there are a lot of research on this. I don't want to go into this very sample. So they talk too slow or too fast. These are two different aspects of hiding a lie. You speak too fast when you don't want others to know exactly what you say. You are just trying to jump over a fact. So whenever a suspect suddenly begins to talk too fast, it's an indication that the person has something to hide or something or is telling a lie. So the important thing is that he suddenly begins to speak very fast. It's not his mannerism or general habit to speak very fast, but suddenly there's a deviation, or you speak too slow, then there is an idea that this is something that two possibilities are there. One is you're trying to make up something. Your brain doesn't move as fast as recollecting something, but you're trying to build up something, make up a story, then it becomes very slow. Otherwise, you jump over these things. Because, there is a very interesting thing which forensic linguists do, and even policemen do. Say, I'm telling them a story like what I did when I am being questioned. Now I'm being suspected of stealing something from the bank. So I just say that I was here in my home at 4 o'clock. I went out 4:30. What did you do? So I went to my friend's house. Lot of things that I say. What they always do is they ask him to repeat it in the reverse order. So 5 o'clock you were at the film theater. 4:30. What did you do? So you have to go back. 4:30, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Suddenly the story will collapse if it's not true. Because you're trying, if it's something which really happened, it's in your memory. You will just have to recollect it. But you're making up the story. Coming from 3 to 4, 5 is easy. But going from 5 to 3 will be very difficult. The story will collapse immediately. This is what forensic linguists always do. So becoming too slow is you want to drag out your story and you want to buy time. Like, you want to think about something and create the story, make it believable. Long pauses. Uh, so, so when there is a long pause when a person is being questioned, forensic linguists always ask them, why did you pause? So a person who is telling a lie, when that question is asked, immediately, he cannot proceed. There is longer pause because you pause because you want to make up something. You want to make up a story. This is very evident in police questioning videos, but in television and all that, this is slightly, because the mode of questioning is very different. You don't have to invent things or make up stories in a television interview. So speaking in a low volume all of a sudden, similar to fast speaking, you don't want people to understand what you're saying. Also, it means that you're grappling with certain emotions internally. Something is creating either guilt or anxiety or fear. So suddenly your volume becomes low. It can go high also. It becomes high when a suspect thinks that what you're saying hasn't convinced the questioner. So the volume raises. So especially, someone you would have noticed this. You know a person, someone who is familiar to you, is telling a lie, and you think that you suspect that he is telling a lie, and this is evident to him. Suddenly, his volume will raise because he knows that he has not been convincing in his approach or in his speech. Non-committal phrases. So when you are trying to uh, answer a question and you use a phrase like probably or possibly or maybe too many times. This is one aspect of discourse. We all of us use this, but where we use it and why we use it, this is something very significant. So when in questioning, a person is being questioned and he or she uses it unusually uh, higher number of times, then that person is trying to either hide something or mislead you or lie. Negative emotional terms, use of negative emotional terms, like you ask a person, why did you do that? So they always refer to uh, being sad or angry or unhappy or I was stressed out. This is partly trying to influence you, influence the questioner, and also, you know, you're actually feeling those things in your mind because you are being questioned. If you are not actually lying, you wouldn't feel these emotions. Overuse of sense terms such as see, feel, and touch. Very interesting video. I don't usually show this in classes because this actually shows same person accusing a minister of raping her. Actually, she claims that it happened in a minister's house. The person who did was another person who came from Delhi. That person, she says that, she goes into the minister's room and she is waiting for that minister to come. Then the door closes and the other person appears. This is the story. But the way it is described, she gives a graphic description of the room. There's a table here, there's a telephone here, and the minister's PA table is here, and all. Now, this is very unconvincing. See, the act of being raped or the experience can be, something, which can be so traumatic, and a person recalling everything in that in a graphic detail. So that itself tells you that the person is making up the story. And the way that it's just like, she wants to convince so much. It's not of the shock or of the that she feels or she felt, but about whatever she saw. So like this, sense terms being used, overuse, is a sign of telling lies. That you want to make an evocative account. You want to convince people of the lie that you want to use. Causal phrases, very important. Someone did this because of this. This is why I left the room. This type of causal phrases would be minimized when a person is lying. Sir, should I stop, sir? It's okay. Also, a liar's interaction with the questioner. When somebody is lying, you try to interact with the questioner by asking questions. There are two reasons for this. One is, just you want to stall for time. You don't want more questions. So you divert the attention of the questioner by raising a question and trying to get him into the conversation. The psychology is that, you want to say, act normal. I'm not lying. I'm quite a normal person. I'm just talking to you. Second is, you want to buy time to think about other things. Also, you want to avoid certain questions or further questions. So you try to deviate the conversation from this. Okay, one important aspect of lying is that first person pronouns. You don't say, this is something which is very evident if you listen to people, politicians talking on television, so especially someone who is being accused of some crime. They always say we, not I. Actually, there are no other person other than him. But he will always say, ഞങ്ങൾ ഇതിനെ കാണുന്നത് ഇതൊരു രാഷ്ട്രീയ ഗൂഢാലോചനയായിട്ടാണ് ഞങ്ങൾ കാണുന്നത്. ഞാൻ കാണുന്നതെന്ന് പറയും. There is a certain psychology behind this. One is that, you want to give the feeling that, I am not a single person who is facing this. This is a crowd. This is psychology. He's trying to imagine that other people are with him and facing this situation. Second is, you don't want to place yourself in a situation, you want to distance yourself from the situation. This is a psychological thing. You want to distance, trying to distance yourself. See, we always see everyday people being taken to the scene of the crime and questioned. Every day, in every crime, the person is taken to the scene of the crime. The psychology behind this is that I commit a crime, I don't want to look at that place. See, I want, this is a psychological reaction. I want to turn away my face from that place. I want to distance myself from that place. So this is why policemen always take him to that scene of the crime and ask him to describe what happened. Did you hit here? Did you move over? In language also, it's the same thing. You want to distance yourself from what happened. One classic strategy is to substitute the first person by we or some other pronoun. Same lack of self-reference. See the example of a truthful statement where, I arrived at home, I unlocked the door, which is being repeated. But if it's not truthful, the I will be either dropped, depending on the language, or will be substituted with we or some other pronoun. Okay, one of the strategies for minimizing or distancing yourself from what you're saying is to use the passive voice. So you say that the safe was left unlocked. So this is typically for English. Other languages have other strategies for passivization. So I left the safe unlocked. You wouldn't say this. The shipment was authorized rather than I authorized the shipment. This actually, all these examples come from different cases which have been studied by forensic linguists. So the use of passive is a typical strategy to distance yourself from the crime. So see this example again from a case. Can you tell me about reconciling the bank statement? So you say, you try to identify the outstanding checks and the deposits in transit, but sometimes when you are really busy and you just post the difference in the suspense account. He makes it as if this is a common practice, but actually they are asking him, did you reconcile the account? This is the question. Now, the withdrawal of first person pronoun is a typical strategy which shows that the person wants to evade the truth contained in the statement. So here, this is a statement by a husband who claims his wife was killed accidentally. It was proved that he himself killed her. He says, this is the statement, I picked up the gun to clean it. Moved to the restaurant to get a cleaning room. Something bumped the trigger. The gun went off, hitting my wife. So till then, I picked up the gun to clean it and moved it to the left hand. After that, something hit it and hit the trigger and it went off. So the passivization and also withdrawal of the first person pronoun. So causation words, I think this is a repetition. I have explained this. Changes in pronoun, yes. Gaps in time. This is an important aspect of discourse structure. So you say everything according to time. This is something which you say, which you see in many statements. So at 2:30, I had lunch. 2:45, I went to bed. 3:30, I got up. 4 o'clock, I went out. Later on, I met a friend. So that doesn't have a time. It's just afterwards or something. So which actually means that that particular period is very important. There is something, he's hiding something. So that's why there is a long gap of time. So in discourses, when there are long gaps of time, you have to be the statement analyst has to be very careful about this. Okay, this is an important aspect of lying. There's a change in tense. I have explained this is actually from a case. A person actually uh, claims that $6,000 was stolen before she could deposit in the bank from the office money. So he says, I put the cash in my car, drove to Olympia Bank building. I entered the parking lot, drove around, all in the past tense. But suddenly, see, when I rolled my window down, a guy jumps out. She doesn't say the guy jumped out. And uh, I can see he has a gun. I saw that he has a gun. He grabs the cash pouch. So the change in tense actually shows that the person is lying. Whenever you lie, there is a change in tense. This is a psychology of the discourse. Okay. Wind up, uh, alluding to actions. So a person is asked a question like, did you back up the computer? A person being accused of not backing up the computer and losing huge data and incurring huge debt, huge losses to the company. That person say, I tried to back up my computer and put away my papers every night before going home. He did it. He doesn't say, I backed up my computer that particular day. He's being asked, did you back up the computer? He says, I back up my computer every day. This is called alluding to action without actually performing them. Last Tuesday, I decided to copy. He just says, I decided to copy. He doesn't say, I copied. I needed to log the customer list. He doesn't say, I logged up the customer list. So this kind of alluding to actions also shows that a person is lying. I have just taken different aspects of lying, like from discourse, from word selection, and from phonetic aspects of lying. Actually, all this, a lot of research, and very interestingly, we have a lot of evidence in the form of videos of police questioning and all that. Unfortunately, we don't have that in Malayalam. Always comes from English. But very, very interesting area of research for students of linguistics. Maybe for Malayalam also, young students should take this up. I will wind up this. If someone has questions or doubts to clarify, I'll be happy to answer.
Then how to find out the benchmark? To exchange means it may be a slow or much serious having a linking factor. That's how it is out of find out the benchmark.
Actually, we try to we are trying to see if there is a possibility that the person is lying. First thing. So either fast or slow, there is a possibility. If it's actually lying, we are trying to find out by other markers of lying. We never trust one marker alone, but it's always should be supported by other markers. Now, it's not just being fast or slow, but is there a leakage clue? Is there something like a stuttering or other? The forensic statement analysis training involves all these things. You use this in conjunction, not one marker alone. Secondly, it shows that there is some emotion at work. Whether he's actually lying We can only say there is a possibility that the person is lying in that particular area. Whether he is actually lying is to be established by reference to the ground truth. The police has to do it. We don't know whether it's lying. This is very important. Important thing. This, we can say that at that particular point, there is some issue. He is trying to hide information or mislead or giving a false statement or lying. What exactly it is can come up only through further question. Mm. Huh. Yes, yes. I don't know the details exactly, but there are a lot of research. Like there's a famous researcher called Ekman, whose main studies also relates to the word distribution in these things. But I don't exactly recall what kind of distribution we call that.
What's your idea about the role of linguists
I feel there's always this issue of the legal system because the Indian legal system, uh, forensic evidence as such is not accepted as evidence. It's not evidence which is acceptable in the court. But at this level, at this stage, what we can do is we can help the investigators. Like in one of the workshops, the DGP of police, Loknath Behra. So he said he first heard the word forensic linguistics in Germany when he went for a training through Scotland Yard. They were put on investigation of a particular crime as an experimental thing. Like many officers from different countries were given details. And when they investigated the crime and they submitted a report, they saw a lady coming and looking at these statements. And he asked her who she was. They said she was a forensic linguist. And when she talked to him, he was amazed at the way they look at evidence, not like police forces. There are a lot of things which she could tell you. Like this, I think maybe because it's just a developing area in India, we don't have much data other than very trivial. No, police ask, can you like see the Saida case? There's one thing which the Director General of Police in one workshop specifically asked me. There is a letter which she claims she has written, but everybody says that 5 pages of it was written by another person. Can you establish that 5 pages were added to it by looking at its language? Answer is yes, we can. If you have sufficient data of her writing, other letters, and look at the style of her writing, language of her writing, we can say with a very high possibility how many pages were added by, or which pages were added by another person.
Small doubt.
Yes.
Only if he is an habitual criminal. The same pattern of linguistic analysis will be applicable. What sector as a criminal writers writing novels. Do we have some studies that these criminal writers would use these kind of linguistic techniques? Or they are writing?
The first thing is in habitual criminals, because the idea, the very idea of having linguistic cues to lie. Whether you are habitual criminal, to an extent, yes. Like to crack certain criminals, it's very difficult because the police they are used to police questioning, and they can deviate the police and all that. This is in certain cases it happens, but the theory is that at some point you have to crack, and because what we call as leakage, like unwitting uh, expression of the truth. It happens at some place because you have to control your emotions, make the story believable, say something which sounds plausible. All this comes together, especially in the police questioning. There are many police officers questioning, one after the other, many questions. Maybe he can go on for some time, longer than an ordinary person. But at some point, he will have to crack. And generally, forensic linguists always say that the longer you have testimonies, the longer the statements, the chances are more of getting accused for lying. The second question is that I think about Malayalam, we don't have data, but people who write crime notes, maybe they have a sixth sense and they are all maybe they see into it without researches and all that. Some are very interesting, some cases how they have dealt with it. Maybe they can. It's not that they have access to data or they use it, but by experience or by looking at people, they understand how people use language. And there are some stories where it is used in English. In Malayalam, I have not seen. Please. Yes. Yes, it gives. Like, there is an interesting area called the text linguistics for, SMS language and studies SMS language and all that. Where it says that, see, normally SMS language is just 3 words or 4 words. Even that has a stylistic marker. Just imagine the good morning message that you send to a friend. It will be different from my good morning message.
Yes.
Maybe you say good morning and you use an emoji. I will use 2 dots or I will use an exclamation mark. Where I use an exclamation mark is very interesting. See, now in the past, handwriting was very important for police. Now all the messages, especially an anonymous message, will be typed. But a typed message also has your fingerprint there in this sense. Do you align, how do you align a paragraph? Some people will go to left alignment or right alignment or what is already available. Where do you split a paragraph? Where do you use the capital? So even a typed message can be studied and its style can be, you can find, understand the person's style from it. So even written messages are amenable to a great extent. It's possible because if you look at studies on suicide notes, the final messages can be very strange. It can be very strange. I'll tell you about, it was a great joke in those times. Long back in Calicut, the person committed suicide. He jumped in front of a train. There was a suicide note in his pocket. It said, I'm going to commit suicide, but there is something that I want to tell you. The pain that I am going to experience would be much less than what people get from reading the short stories. Actually, he mentioned the name of a writer, famous writer in Malayalam. So that psychology, is it possible to write a suicide note like that? Maybe it's possible. Maybe it's possible.
Yeah, it's a holistic analysis of the steps.
Yes.
And as we know, in North America, these medical examples are not available details, so that is not available.
Mm.
Because the police is not sharing.
Yeah.
Give us about all the stories of the do you think that based on the language process, the study also can develop to that extent? I think there are certain basic things which can be analyzed as the future of the particular person. I think that will be even more to solve.
The problem is that this sort of linguistic evidence is not accepted in India. Even other situations like in authorship identification, there's a famous case which in forensic linguists always cite. This happened in Poland, where a dictionary was plagiarized. This is a plagiarism case. There's a Polish English dictionary published in 1970s. So in 2000 or 2005, another firm took this old dictionary, made some changes here and there, published it as their own. They added a few words. The first company, they filed a case. So the plagiarist company's argument was that a dictionary contains verbs which belongs to people who speak Polish language. And it's not a creative product of anyone. So there cannot be a plagiarism case. The court appointed a forensic linguist to look into this and submit a report. So that report was very interesting. It's a linguist. He took 1,000 random words from this dictionary and compared the two lists. He comes to a very interesting conclusion. He says that words belong to people, but the structure of a lexicographic entry is a creative product. It's because, you have 5 senses for a word. The order of the senses, which is most important sense, the lexicographer decides and puts it as the first sense. How he splits it into 2 words, whether it's the noun comes first or second. Like this, there's a structure which this person has stolen. So it is actually plagiarism. So like this, in India, the problem is, you don't have forensic linguistics or forensic linguist as a huge presence in the legal situation. This actually can be corrected only by younger generation, when they have to demonstrate to the legal authorities that this is a useful subject. We can do this, or like a SMS message. Because see, the case, Saumya murder case, one of the important pieces of evidence, when this girl was pushed off from the train and killed, before she was pushed off, she sent a message to a friend, SMS message or WhatsApp message, where she says, ഒരു ഒറ്റ കൈയുള്ള മനുഷ്യൻ എന്നെ തുറിച്ചു നോക്കുന്നു, എനിക്ക് പേടിയാവും. This is the evidence which linked him to the murder. This is a crucial evidence. But let's just think of a hypothetical situation. I leave my phone here, I go to the bathroom, someone can take my phone and send a message. Under the present legal system, the court will assume that I sent it, even though this is possible. But my messaging style, language, can be compared, and a forensic linguist can establish that I did not send this, or there's a possibility that another person has sent it, even though we don't know who it is. It's not me. So that possibility is there. So actually, students of linguistics have to come up with such work and demonstrate to the society that this is a useful subject. Only then, this subject will, because its legal presence is very important. The acceptance in legal parlance is very important. Otherwise, this just remains a theoretical subject.
So even if the guidance can be able to tell you what's the data, That means I can say that it doesn't give us leave it to that kind of way of this can be able to do this more one dissect explore.
Yeah, it's always a text or a spoken thing. Even other areas like authorship identification, like anonymous letter, who has written it, or anonymous phone call. Did someone make that call? Or you have a recording of an anonymous phone call. Uh, is the person a Malayali? A forensic linguist can help to tell the police investigation is going on. So it could be a person whose mother tongue is not Malayalam, because there are many such cases from all over the world. But something which is applicable to linguistics should be there. Otherwise, you can't be useful.
We have to work for our
Yes, yes, yes. If you look at actual cases where forensic statement analysis is at work, they always give a list of uh, levels, and they make a comment on the strength of the evidence. They say that this particular evidence is very strong. Uh, these are supporting evidences. So all these are covered. It has to be covered because this is only a possibility. This is not a definite evidence. Definite evidence has to come from the police. Yes, yes, yes. Western country, very right, very right. Because as I said, linguistic evidence or the type of evidence which forensic linguists can produce, it's not accepted as evidence. There is an idea of legal evidence, which it doesn't cover this evidence. A linguist is not a accepted expert in Indian legal system. But see, there are possibilities. If you remember, there is a case in Kerala where a judge was called as Tumban. A judge was called by a political leader, was referred to as Tumban. There was a case, and he brought a Sanskrit professor to come and give a testimony. So the testimony is that Shumban in Sanskrit comes from the root shob, shobikika. So I just meant to say that judges are shining. This is what is this? And finally, that person was let off. But see, from a linguistic viewpoint of view, you would say a word doesn't have a definite meaning except within its context. So even in a context, it can have a drastically different meaning. So that's what a linguist should do. But generally, linguistic evidence is not accepted in the court. So there are possibilities for this, but the legal system doesn't have this connection. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So it is like presented a very informative as well as interesting topic regarding lying, which comes under a modern branch of linguistics named forensic linguistics. On behalf of ISDL, I sincerely thanks the Shankar for accepting our invitation and presenting this informative lecture. Thank you. Now we can proceed to the canteen for our lunch. After the lunch, the second session will begin at 2 p.m.